My son needed a part of my liver. Suddenly he was healthy and became seriously ill. For my son, I did not worry about my health because I was old, but then until I was on the operating table, the nurse suddenly shouted, "No surgery." Before listening to me explain why, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories from me. The ceiling lights hit me like a slap of winter sun on snow. Too bright, too clean. I lay flat on the cold table, paper gown crinkling under my shoulders, arms pinned by plastic tubes. 68 years old, and this is where devotion lands you, strapped down, waiting to give away a piece of yourself. The heart monitor beeped steady. Beep, beep. Like it was counting down instead of up. They wheeled me in at dawn. No coffee, no lipstick, just the smell of iodine and fear. Daniel needed me, they said. My eldest. My first breath of pride, 38 years ago. The surgeon's mask hid everything but his eyes. Calm, professional, bored. Behind the glass wall Clara stood, arms folded so tight her knuckles went white. She lifted one hand, 2 fingers tapping the consent form on the clipboard. "Sign it, Helen. Don't hesitate." I took the pen. My fingers shook. Not from age. From the lie I was already living. The ink bled a little where the nib pressed too hard. Helen Moore, donor. I wrote it slow, each letter a small surrender. Clara's gaze drilled through the window, demanding. I could almost hear her voice inside my skull. "Faster, mother. Daniel is dying. Dying." The word had arrived 3 months ago. Sudden as a slammed door. Family barbecue, smoke curling off the grill, grandkids chasing bubbles. Daniel laughed at something Aaron said, then folded in half, face grey, clutching his side. Ambulance lights painted the driveway red and blue. I rode in the back, holding his hand while the paramedic shouted numbers I didn't understand. Liver failure. Acute. Needs transplant. "You're a match, Mrs. Moore. A match." Like we were puzzle pieces instead of mother and son. The tests came back perfect. Too perfect. Enzyme counts that never spiked the way they should. Scans crisp enough for a textbook. I asked the resident why the numbers looked staged. He blinked, shuffled papers, said, "Lucky catch, early stage." Lucky. I swallowed the word and it tasted like metal. Now the anesthesiologist leaned over me, needle glinting. "Count backward from 10, Mrs. Moore." His voice floated, gentle, practiced. I stared at the ceiling grid. 24 tiles, 4 cracks shaped like lightning. My heart hammered so loud I was sure the monitor would scream. 10. 9. I mouthed the numbers, but didn't say them. 8. 7. The room blurred at the edges, but I stayed awake inside my skin. I had to. This was the last moment I could still choose. Clara's reflection stared back from the polished steel tray, lips thin, eyes shining with something that wasn't worry. Triumph, maybe. Or relief. I'd seen that look once before, years ago, when she talked Daniel into signing over the lake house for the kid's future. I'd argued then. She'd smiled and said, "Trust me, Helen. Family first. Family first." The phrase echoed now, sour as spoiled milk. The needle hovered. I curled my toes inside the paper booties, counted heartbeats instead of numbers. 1, 2. The surgeon lifted the scalpel, light sliding down the blade like water. I tasted copper. Not yet. I needed them all in the room, every liar wearing their mask of concern. My liver wasn't the only organ on the table today. I let my eyelids droop, practiced the slack face of surrender. Inside, every nerve screamed. 40 years of packing lunches, midnight fevers, college tuitions scraped from overtime. And this is the thanks, my own flesh carved out to feed their greed. The thought burned hotter than the antiseptic sting in my vein. Clara shifted behind the glass. Mrs. Dalton appeared beside her, pearls tight at her throat, Smile practiced for boardrooms. She placed a manicured hand on Clara's shoulder. Supportive mother-in-law. The picture of solidarity. I almost laughed. Almost. The heart monitor beeped faster. A nurse glanced up, frowned. Mrs. Moore, try to relax. Relax? Sure. I pictured Daniel's face the night he proposed to Clara. Eyes shining, voice cracking with hope. I'd hugged them both, whispered, "Take care of each other." Now one of them was selling pieces of me like scrap. I closed my eyes all the way, let them think the drugs were winning. The room sounds muffled, rubber soles squeaking, metal trays clinking, Clara's low murmur to her mother. I caught fragments. Data. Perfect. Investors. My stomach twisted. Investors. Not doctors, not family. The anesthesiologist adjusted the drip. She's under. No, I wasn't. Not yet. I'd swapped the pre-op pill for a sugar tablet this morning, palmed it when the aide turned to chart vitals. Old woman, shaky hands. Nobody notices sleight of hand when they think you're half gone already. Cool air kissed the skin they'd shaved above my ribs. Marker lines, purple and precise. Property boundaries. I felt the weight of every year I'd given them, every casserole, every Christmas morning, every time I bit my tongue so peace could stay stitched together. And for what? To lie here while they carved me open for profit. Clara's voice floated through the intercom, syrupy sweet. We're all here for you, Helen. Daniel's going to be fine. Fine. The word dripped like honey over broken glass. I wanted to sit up, rip the IV out, scream until the walls shook. Instead, I breathed slow, counted tiles again. 24. 4 cracks. 1 chance. The surgeon's voice calm. Scalpel. Metal-touched skin. Cold. Then warm. A sting. I bit the inside of my cheek to stay still. Blood welled, trickled. The smell hit me. Iron and betrayal. My betrayal or theirs. Both, maybe. Behind my eyelids I saw Nora's face from last night. Young, frightened, determined. The courtyard bench, frost on the wood. Her whisper, "They're using him as a lab rat, Mrs. Moore, and you're the control group." Control. I'd laughed then, a dry sound that hurt my throat. Control was the one thing I'd never had in this family. The heart monitor steadied. Good. Let them think I was drifting. Dr. Larkin's voice now, smooth as silk. Donor vitals optimal. Recipient prepped in OR2. Recipient. My son. My baby. Drugged into failure so they could test their miracle cure. Then bill the insurance for the harvest. My harvest. I felt the blade press deeper. Not far. Just enough to commit. The point of no return. My cue was coming. 2 squeezes on the bed rail. Nora would see it on the monitor feed she'd hijacked. Aaron waited outside with the real police, not the rent-a-cops Clara paid off. 1 signal, 1 chance to flip the table. Clara leaned closer to the glass. I could feel her stare like ants on my skin. "Hurry," she whispered. Though the mic didn't catch it, I read her lips. "Hurry." Before the old lady changes her mind. Too late, darling. I already had. The surgeon paused. Odd. Blood type notation, updated overnight. O positive to A positive. A beat of silence. I held my breath. Dr. Evans, chief surgeon, voice sharp. That's not possible. Donor is O. Recipient is A. Check the file. Confusion rippled. Papers rustled. Keyboards clacked. Clara's face went the color of the weeks before surgery, dragged like wet wool. Every day another knot in the rope they thought would hang me. I played the doting mother-in-law, shuffling into Daniel's room with weak smiles and homemade applesauce nobody ate. Clara hovered, always between me and the pill bottles. "Let me handle that, Helen." "You rest," she said, voice sweet as artificial sweetener. "Rest." As if sleep could fix the stink of lies in the air. I set the jar on the tray table, spoon clinking. Clara, honey, let me give him his noon meds today. My hands aren't that shaky. She smiled, tight, polite, the kind that doesn't reach the eyes. No, the schedule's strict. Doctor's orders. Doctor's orders. I nodded, folded my hands like a schoolgirl. Inside, my nails dug half-moons into my palms. She twisted open the blister pack. 3 white tablets slid into a paper cup. Click, click, child-proof caps. She measured the blue capsule against the light, then the yellow liquid. 5 milliliters exactly, no drop more. Open up, Danny, she cooed. Daniel obeyed, eyes glassy. I watched his throat work, counted the seconds until she turned away. My phone hid in the sleeve of my cardigan. Click, the blister pack. Click, the vial label. Click, the lot number scrawled in purple marker. My hands shook worse than when I signed the consent form. Not fear. Rage, hot and quiet, the kind that simmers for decades before it boils. Daniel's chart hung at the foot of his bed, crisp pages, updated daily. I waited until the hallway cleared, then flipped to the enzyme graph. Straight lines, plateaus smoother than a frozen lake. Liver failure doesn't draw perfect stair steps. It crashes like a drunk down the stairs. I traced the numbers with a fingernail bitten to the quick. Daniel, baby, does your tummy hurt worse today? I asked, voice soft. He blinked slow, kinda floaty, like I'm on a boat. Floaty. I wrote the word in my head, underlined it twice. Posters in the corridor screamed in bold letters. Regenerative therapy trial. Now enrolling. Same start date as Daniel's sudden illness. I ripped one down, folded it into my purse like evidence. The paper smelled of fresh ink and desperation. My desperation, or theirs. A volunteer in a candy-striped vest bustled past. Mrs. Moore, you shouldn't tear those down. I smiled. Sweet as Clara. Arthritis, dear. Paper cuts. She bought it. They always do. Squad rate, medium, pharmacy window at the end of the hall. I lingered with a fake cough, watched techs wheeling crates stamped BioReganX. Same lot numbers as Daniel's vials. The tech glanced up, smiled the tight smile people give nosy grandmas. Family member? My son, I croaked. He nodded, turned away. I memorized the crate code before the door swung shut. 47BX0912. I whispered it like a prayer all the way back to the room. Nights with notes. I sat in the vinyl recliner beside Daniel's bed, television flickering silent cartoons. When his breathing evened out, I pulled a tiny spiral pad from my bra. Dates, times, doses. My handwriting looked drunk, but the facts stayed sober. 312, yellow liquid, 5 ml of 3-on-15. Enzyme drop, 12%. 3-18. Clara changes schedule. Skips evening dose. Why skip the evening pill, Clara? I asked the next morning. Buttering toast I wouldn't eat. She didn't look up from her phone. New protocol. Dr. Larkin adjusted. I underlined the word 3 times in my head. Clara installed a baby monitor above the door, so the nurses can hear if he calls. Cute plastic owl. Red light blinking like a heartbeat. That night I waited until 2 a.m., held my own phone under the lens, recorded her whispering to someone on speaker. Data looks perfect. Investors love the timeline. After the transplant, we're golden. My thumb hovered over stop. I let it run until the battery died. The owl stared down, unblinking. I stared back. Game on. Next day, I cornered a lab tech in the elevator. Old lady charm, full blast. Young man, my Daniel's numbers. They look so steady. Is that normal? He shifted his clipboard. Well, steady is good, right? I leaned closer, smelled his cheap cologne. Steady like a heartbeat, or steady like a lie. He laughed nervously, punched the lobby button 3 times. The doors opened and he bolted. I smiled all the way to the cafeteria. Lot numbers matched the trial crates exactly. I cross-checked on the hospital Wi-Fi at the family lounge, pretending to read recipes. Bioregan X. Phase 2. Unapproved, offshore funding. Mrs. Dalton's real estate logo sat in the corner of the sponsor list like a smug cat. I screenshotted, emailed to a throwaway account I'd made at the library. Subject line, for Aaron, open only if I vanish. I added a second line, tell him I love him. Tell him I'm sorry I waited so long. One night the corridor lights dimmed to half-mast. I shuffled toward the vending machine in slippers that whispered on linoleum. Records room door cracked open. Glow of a printer. Inside, Nora. Ponytail frizzed, eyes wide as coins, feeding paper like she was stuffing secrets. 2 stacks. One crisp, one smudged with corrections. She looked up, froze. I lifted a finger to my lips. She nodded once, sharp. Mrs. Moore, you shouldn't. Neither should you, sweetheart, I whispered. We didn't speak after that. We didn't need to. The printer spat the last page, and the room smelled like hot toner and fear. I backed out slow, heart thumping so loud I was sure the motion sensor would scream. Nora slipped something into my pocket, a flash drive no bigger than a fingernail. Her fingers brushed mine, cold, trembling. Real results, she breathed, before they cooked the books. I pressed her hand once, then shuffled away like the harmless old bat they wanted me to be. Inside my pocket, the drive burned hotter than any fever. I clutched it like a rosary all the way back to Daniel's room. Daniel stirred when I sat down. Mum, you okay? His voice cracked like a 12-year-old's. I smoothed his hair, same way I did when he had chickenpox. Never better, baby. Go back to sleep. He did. I stayed awake, counting the owl's red blinks, one for every lie I was about to bury them with. Midnight tasted like frost and burnt coffee. I slipped out the side exit in my robe and slippers, scarf pulled high like a bandit. The courtyard bench sat under a busted sodium lamp. Half orange glow, half shadow. Nora waited, hood up, hands jammed in her pockets. She jumped when gravel crunched under my heel. Mrs. Moore, you came. Told you I would, kid. Let's not waste moonlight. We sat close enough that our knees almost touched. Cold seeped through the wood into my bones. Nora pulled out a crumpled printout. 2 columns of numbers side by side. Left side is what they show the family. Right side is what the machine actually spits out. The right side zigzagged like a drunk heartbeat. The left. A tidy staircase down to doom. I traced the real line with a cracked fingernail. Poison. Pure poison. Yim, she tapped the header. Logan stamp, Larkin, R2:03 a.m. Every night for 6 weeks. I felt the rage bubble up again, but I swallowed it. Needed facts, not fire. And the money. Nora slid her phone over. Offshore account screenshot, Mrs. Dalton's company name bold as brass. $250,000 wired the day Daniel qualified for the trial. Another half coming after transplant data. $250,000. My liver suddenly had a price tag and a bonus clause. I stared at the stars until they blurred. They're inducing failure, then selling the cure. Nora nodded, breath fogging. And the donor transplant. That's the control data. Proof the drug works when the organ rebounds. Rebounds. My organ. My son. I laughed. A dry bark that hurt my throat. Guess I'm the lab rat's mom. And the lab rat's lunch. Nora opened a notebook. Server logs, timestamps, deleted files recovered. I can pull everything, but if they catch me... She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Fired, blacklisted, maybe worse. I took her cold hand. Then we don't get caught, not till the trap snaps shut. Her eyes widened. You're gonna let them cut you. Walk right in, sign every paper, smile pretty. Then yank the rug out from under them. We rehearsed the signal in whispers. 2 hard squeezes on the bed rail. I'll be watching the vitals feed from the nurse station. I nodded. And the cameras? She showed me a tiny drive. Motion-triggered, surgical cart, catches every face, every word. I slipped it into my bra like contraband. Felt like carrying dynamite. What about audio? She produced a second device, no bigger than a button. Sews into the gown hem. 4-hour loop. I texted Aaron from the courtyard payphone. Old school, no trace. Rental van, hospital east lot, 5 a.m. tomorrow. Bring coffee and the real cops. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji and a voice note. Mum, you sure about this? I typed back, never more sure, love you. My baby boy. Always the quiet one. I pictured him in the driveway at 16, changing my oil without being asked. Now he'd be my getaway driver. Life's funny that way. Nora tucked the micro recorder into the hem of my hospital gown. Pre-op dressing tomorrow. Battery lasts 4 hours. Starts when you speak. I practiced my line under my breath. I feel dizzy. Can we slow the drip? Trigger phrase. She nodded, eyes shining. I'll be in the supply closet. Door cracked. Recorder on my phone too. We bumped fists like teenagers. Felt ridiculous. Felt right. I swallowed a tracker pill with vending machine water. Looked like a vitamin, worked like a homing beacon. Aaron's got the app. If they move me, he'll know. Nora's voice cracked. You trust him? With my life and yours. She exhaled, shaky. Okay, we do this. We mapped the OR layout on a napkin. Doors, windows, blind spots. Dr. Evans is lead surgeon. He's clean, hates Larkin. I nodded. Good. He'll listen when the proof hits. Nora drew an X where the observation glass met the wall. Clara and Dalton always stand here. Perfect sightline for the camera. I memorized every line. I asked the hard question. What happens to you after? She shrugged small. Suspension. Maybe lose my license. I squeezed her wrist. Then we make sure the board sees you as the hero, not the whistleblower. Her eyes filled. You do that for me, kid. I'm doing this for every mother who ever got sold out by her own. We parted at the automatic doors. She whispered, Mrs. Moore. Why risk it? You could walk away. I looked back at Daniel's window, 3rd floor, curtains half drawn, because walking away means they win, and I'm done losing pieces of my family. The doors whooshed shut between us. Frostbite stung my cheeks, but my blood ran lava. I paused under the lamp, pulled out the flash drive Nora gave me earlier, slid it into the payphone coin slot. Old trick from cop shows, retrieved it with a paperclip. 2 copies now, one in my bra, one taped under the bench for Aaron. Redundancy, my new best friend. I whispered to the night, Insurance, darling, just like you taught me. Back in the room, Daniel stirred. Mom. Water? I poured from the pitcher, hands steady now. Here, baby. Small sips. He drank, eyes half open. You look different. I smiled, real this time. Just tired, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. He did. I sat in the dark, counting the owl monitor's red blinks, one for every lie I was about to bury them with. I rehearsed tomorrow in my head. Walk in week, sign papers, let them wheel me. Play possum, squeeze twice, watch the sky fall. Simple, terrifying, necessary. I kissed Daniel's forehead, tasted salt and hospital soap. Mama's fixing this baby, one way or another. The final week crawled by on broken glass, every step a reminder that the floor could cut deeper if I slipped. I leaned hard into the act, cane tapping like a metronome, shoulders rounded, voice soft as tissue paper soaked in tears. Clara, dear, could you fetch my shawl? I'm chilled to the bone. She bustled off, satisfied, heels clicking authority down the hall. The more helpless I looked, the less they watched. I was a furniture, old, creaky, forgettable. Perfect. Clara relaxed her grip, day by day. She let me sit with Daniel alone while she took calls in the corridor, voice low and clipped. Yes, the donor's compliant. Vitals, optimal. Board presentation locked for 4. I used the minutes like gold. Swapped his vitamin boost syringe with saline I'd palmed from a supply cart the night before. The real toxin went into a Ziploc, sealed tight, labeled in Nora's tiny handwriting, evidence number 3. I tucked it behind the radiator. Cool, dark, waiting like a sleeping snake. Nora slipped me updates in the cafeteria line, pretending to reach for the same sugar packet. Investors tour tomorrow. Board loves the numbers. Larkin's bragging about flawless progression. I stirred my tea. Steam curling like lies. Good. Let them come. Cameras love an audience. Make sure the cart's in position. She risked a grin, then vanished behind a tray of Jell-O cups that wobbled like guilty consciences. Mrs. Dalton swept in one afternoon. Pearls clacking like judgment. Perfume thick as fog rolling off a swamp. Helen, you're a saint. Daniel's so lucky to have you. She patted my hand. Cold fingers, diamond rings sharp enough to draw blood. I smiled, watery and weak. Family sticks together, don't we, Evelyn? Her eyes flickered. She heard the edge, the steel under the syrup. I let her hear it, let her wonder. I mailed Aaron the envelope from the lobby mailbox. Photocopied notes, flash drive duplicate, a single line on pink stationery. If this reaches you, I'm already on the table. Trust Nora. Burn after reading. I kissed the seal, tasted glue and finality, dropped it in. The clunk of the slot sounded like a starting gun. Run, baby, I whispered to the metal box. Run fast. Nora planted the motion camera inside the surgical supply cart, tucked between gauze rolls and sterile drapes, wide angle. Catches the whole room, even the observation window. I practiced breathing in the bathroom stall. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Heart rate steady, blood pressure low. Monitors lie when you know the trick. I'd been lying for years. To myself, to Daniel, to the mirror. This time, the lie had teeth. Morning of the tour, I shuffled to the vending machine in slippers that whispered secrets. Overheard 2 suits in the hallway, ties too tight, voices too loud. Post-transplant data hits the board at 4. Stock jumps by open bell. Larkin says the old lady's a gold mine. I bought a pack of gum I didn't want. Memorized their faces. One had a gold pinky ring shaped like a $sign, tacky and stupid. I'd make sure the camera caught that ring, nice and clear. Clara caught me lingering by the machine. Mom, you shouldn't wander. You'll tire yourself before surgery. I leaned on my cane, let my lip tremble just enough. Just needed air, sweetheart. Surgery's soon. I get nervous. She softened, guided me back with a hand on my elbow like I was made of glass. Hook, line, sinker. I counted her steps. 23 to the elevator. 23 seconds to plant the next seed. Clara, will you hold my hand when they wheel me in? She hesitated, then nodded. Of course, I smiled inside. Touch was evidence too. That night, I swapped Daniel's IV bag with Nora's help. Celine again. Trace dye to prove, tampering later. Label stays the same. They'll never notice till the lab runs it, she whispered, while pretending to adjust his pillow. I held his hand, felt the pulse. Strong, steady, fighting. My boy was in there, even drugged. Pride stung my eyes. You hang on, Danny. Mama's fixing this. I left a voicemail for Aaron from the chapel phone. No cameras there, just stained glass and silence. If anything feels off, you call the feds. Badge number 4729. Ask for Agent Ruiz. Tell him Helen Moore sends regards. I hung up before the beep cut me off. Trust is a muscle. Mine ached, but it held. I lit a candle for Daniel, One for Nora, one for the truth. Wax smelled like hope and old wood. Last rehearsal with Nora in the stairwell. Echo swallowed our voices, turned them into ghosts. Signal at the first incision, not before. Let them commit. I nodded. And if the blood type flag doesn't work? She tapped her pocket. Plan B. I walk in with the originals. Folder marked urgent requisition. No choice. We hugged quick, fierce. 2 women against a machine. David never had better slingshots. You scared? I asked. She laughed, shaky, terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. I practiced frailty in the mirror of the family restroom. Drooped eyelids, slack jaw, tremor in the left hand. Looked 90 instead of 68. Good. I whispered to my reflection. You've played the fool long enough. Time to play the wolf. The glass didn't argue. It just showed me the lines around my eyes, each one a year I'd given, a promise I'd kept, a betrayal I'd swallowed. Tonight they'd choke on them. Back in the room, Clara brought soup. Eat, Mom. You need strength. I sipped, let it dribble on my chin. Hands aren't steady, sorry. She wiped me with a napkin, gentle. For a second I saw the girl who used to braid my hair on beach vacations. Then her phone buzzed. Larkin. Her face hardened. The girl was gone. I finished the soup. Tasted like ashes and goodbye. I tucked a final note under Daniel's pillow, folded small as a prayer. If I don't make it, know I love you. Tell Aaron he was always enough. Tell Clara. Tell her I tried. I kissed his forehead, tasted salt and hospital soap. Sleep tight, baby. Tomorrow the storm breaks. Nora texted from a burner. Cart in place. Cameras hot. Cops on standby. I replied with a single heart emoji. Then I turned off the phone, slipped it into the lining of my robe. No traces. No mercy. The gown hung on the bathroom hook. Recorder sewn in. Tracker swallowed. Evidence stacked like kindling. All I had to do was light the match. I stood at the window, watched the moon slide behind a cloud. Somewhere out there, Aaron sat in his van, coffee gone cold. Somewhere Clara counted profits. Somewhere misses. Dalton polished her pearls. And somewhere inside me, 68 years of love and loss clicked into place like a loaded chamber. Click. Ready. Dawn broke grey and quiet, the kind of light that makes everything look guilty. Like the world itself was holding its breath. I woke before the aid, folded my robe like a shroud, and ate the approved toast. Dry. No butter. Just enough to keep the tracker pill company in my stomach. I chewed slow, counted crumbs. 1 for every lie I'd swallowed. 1 for every birthday I'd baked. 1 for every time I'd said yes when I wanted to scream. The glucose tab I'd hidden in my cheek dissolved sweet under my tongue. Alertness in a pinch. Insurance against the fog they planned to drown me in. Clara knocked once, entered with coffee she wouldn't let me drink. Morning, Mom. Big day. You nervous? Nervous. I let my hands flutter like trapped birds. A little, dear. Help me with the necklace. She fastened the locket, family photo inside, microtransmitter behind the glass. Her fingers brushed my collarbone, cool and quick. There, you look peaceful. Peaceful. I almost laughed until my ribs hurt. Instead, I patted her cheek, felt the smoothness she paid for. You too, sweetheart. So proud of you. The lie tasted like rust and old pennies. She bought it, eyes shining with something that might have been tears or triumph. I couldn't tell anymore. Nora swapped badges in the linen closet. Shelves of folded death and bleach. Mine now read visitor in faded blue. Hers read surgical tech, crisp and official. Security's lax before 7. I'll be in the scrub room by 6:30. I tucked the forged pass into my slipper sole, felt the plastic edge bite. If anyone asks, I'm your grandma from out of town. She snorted, then hugged me hard enough to crack a rib. Don't die on me, Grandma. Not the plan, kid. Not even close. Dr. Evans reviewed the final charts in pre-op. Brow creased, like old leather. Blood type updated again. A positive. That can't be right. Donor file says O. A tech shrugged, scrolling. System glitch, maybe. Happens with overnight entries. Evans tapped the tablet hard enough to rattle. Run it again. I'm not cutting till it matches. Call the lab. My heart skipped. Perfect. The glitch was Nora's midnight hack, planted like a landmine. Seed planted. Timer ticking. I whispered to Nora through the bathroom stall partition. Metal cold between us. Toilet paper dispenser rattling with every breath. Recorder hot? Hot and hidden. Say the trigger. I cleared my throat, let my voice waver. I feel dizzy. Can we slow the drip? A soft beep confirmed from her pocket. 4 hours starts now. Audio crystal. I flushed for show, shuffled out like the frail old lady they expected. Slippers scuffing, cane tapping a funeral march. Aaron texted from the van. Cops in place. 2 unmarked. Ruiz says go loud when you signal. I replied with a single word, soon. Then powered off, slid the phone into the lining of my robe, where the seam had been carefully unpicked and re-sewn with dental floss. No traces, no mercy. Mrs. Dalton arrived in the lobby, pearls gleaming under fluorescent lights, like tiny nooses, greeting investors like a queen at court. Phase 2. Data will be groundbreaking, full recovery projected within weeks. I watched from the wheelchair, head lolling, eyes slitted. Groundbreaking. My grave or theirs. I'd already dug theirs deeper. They wheeled me past Daniel's room. Door cracked open on purpose. He waved weak fingers through the gap. Love you, Mum. See you after. My throat closed like a fist. I lifted a hand, pressed it to the glass between us. Love you more, baby, always. The orderly pushed faster, metal wheels humming a dirge. No time for tears, not yet. I blinked them back, tasted salt on my lips. Anesthetic team calibrated doses around me. Masks, gloves, quiet efficiency that smelled of latex and fear. Mrs. Moore, any allergies? I mumbled, voice trembling on cue. Penicillin. And liars. The nurse chuckled, thinking it was dementia talking. We'll keep you safe, hun. I let her. Requested light sedation. Scared of needles, always have been. They adjusted, sympathetic, lowering the propofol dose. Idiots. Thank you. Nora loaded the flash drive into a sealed evidence pouch, taped it under her scrubs at the waist, right against the skin where no pat-down would find it. Original labs, logs, voice memo of Dalton, financials, everything. I nodded once, slow. When I squeeze, you run, no hesitation. Door code is 7291. She swallowed hard, Adam's apple bobbing. No hesitation, I swear. Final check in the holding bay. Gown tied loose, ivy started in the crook of my elbow, monitors singing their lying song. Heart rate 72, blood pressure 118/76. Oxygen sat 99%. Perfectly average, perfectly fake. I breathed through my nose, counted ceiling tiles again. 24, 4 cracks, 1 destiny. The orderly pushed, wheels hummed over linoleum, doors swung wide on silent hinges. Fluorescent lights blazed like Judgment Day. Clara walked beside the gurney, hand on my shoulder, possessive, proud. You're doing great, Mom. Daniel's prepped in OR2. It'll all be over soon. Over soon. I turned my head, met her eyes. Yes, Clara, it will. She smiled, didn't hear the promise underneath. The gurney rolled under the surgical lamps, heat like a branding iron. I closed my eyes, felt the tracker pulse in my gut, felt Nora's recorder warm against my hip, felt 68 years of love harden into steel. A nurse adjusted the oxygen mask. Deep breaths, Mrs. Moore. I obeyed. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In with courage, out with fear. In with justice, out with mercy. The anesthesiologist hovered, syringe ready. Counting backward from 10? I shook my head, frail. Just pray for me. He smiled behind the mask. Always do. They lifted me onto the table. Cold steel under paper, arms strapped gently. Monitors beeped in rhythm. I flexed my fingers. Once, twice. Signal practiced. The room filled. Surgeons, techs, Dr. Evans barking orders. Confirm blood type. A pause. Still conflicting. O in donor history, A in current file. Evans swore under his breath. Hold. No incision till resolved. My cue was close. I squeezed the rail. Tested the grip. Solid. Real. Like truth. Behind the glass, Clara and Mrs. Dalton took their places. Coffee cups in hand. Faces calm as predators before the kill. I saw them through slitted eyes. Saw Larkin enter, tablet glowing. Saw the scalpel laid out like a sacrifice. I breathed once more. Deep, steady. The storm was here, and I was the lightning. The operating room smelled of bleach and hot metal. Lamps blazing down like interrogation suns that never blinked. I lay centered on the table, paper gown crinkling under every breath, arms spread like a broken bird on an altar. Monitors beeped their steady lies. 72, 118/76, oxygen 99. Perfect numbers for a perfect crime. Dr. Larkin strode in, custom scrubs crisp as fresh lies, tablet glowing with falsified donor match. Donor vitals optimal. Let's make history, people. History. I tasted bile and swallowed it like communion wine. Clara and Mrs. Dalton took their seats behind the observation glass. Coffee steam curling up like guilty ghosts. Faces composed as porcelain dolls on a shelf. Clara sipped, eyes locked on me through the window, lips curved in a half-smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mrs. Dalton checked her watch, pearls catching the light like tiny handcuffs waiting to click. I let my breathing slow. 4 counts in, 6 counts out. Heart rate dipped to 68 on the screen. Good. Let them think the old lady was drifting into the dark. Nora stationed herself at the records terminal just outside the OR doors. Badge clipped high, ponytail tucked under a surgical cap, fingers flying over keys she wasn't supposed to touch. She nodded once through the small window. Barely a twitch of her chin. I saw it. Signal received. The surgical supply cart rolled in on silent wheels. Gauze, drapes. Hidden camera blinking awake inside a roll of sterile blue. Wide angle. Every face. Every word. Every lie about to be caught in 4K. The anesthesiologist adjusted the drip. Voice calm as a funeral director. Light sedation holding. She's under. BP stable. Under. I wasn't. Not even close. Sugar pill from breakfast. Glucose tab under my tongue. Sheer will forged in 68 years of being underestimated. My fingers found the bed rail. Cool steel, solid grip, lifeline. I squeezed once, tested the pressure. Twice, hard, deliberate. The cue. Nora's eyes flicked to the monitor feed on her hidden tablet. She vanished from view like smoke. The scalpel gleamed under the lights. Dr. Evans lifted it, voice steady. Marking incision site. Confirm blood type 1, last time. A tech read from the tablet. Recipient A positive, donor A positive. Match confirmed. Evans hesitated. Wait. Donor history says O. Who updated this? Larkin stepped forward, smooth as oil. Clerical error. Fixed overnight. Proceed. Evans' jaw tightened. No, I said, confirm. Doors burst open like thunder cracking the sky. Nora stormed in, folder thick with truth. Flash drive raised like a torch in the dark. Stop the procedure. This is fraud. Gasps ricocheted off tile walls. Dr. Evans froze, mid-motion, scalpel hovering an inch above my skin. What the hell is this? A nurse dropped a tray. Metal clattered like gunfire. Nora slapped the folder on the Mayo stand, papers fanning out like playing cards in a rigged game. Original labs, real results, falsified timestamps, Larkin's login at 2:03 a.m. every night for 6 weeks. She jammed the drive into the OR projector port. Screens flared to life, side-by-side graphs filling every monitor. Left, perfect gentle decline. Right, toxic spikes, jagged as broken glass. The room went graveyard quiet. You could hear a heart stop. Mrs. Dalton's recorded voice filled the speakers, calm, chilling, recorded in the dead of night. After the transplant, the data will be perfect. Don't worry. That old woman won't dare refuse. She'll sign anything to save her precious boy. Clara's coffee cup slipped from her fingers. Shattered on the observation floor, brown liquid spreading like blood. It's a lie! She's lying! Mom, tell them! Her scream cracked like ice under a boot. Dr. Evans snatched the printouts, eyes scanning fast. Blood types don't match. Donor O, recipient A. This file was altered overnight, and the original locked out. He turned to Larkin, voice steel cutting through panic. Explain, now. Larkin's tablet clattered to the floor, screen cracking. System error. Must be a glitch. His voice cracked like a teenager's. A surgeon lunged for the intercom. Security to OR1, code black. Red emergency lights flashed on, bathing the room in blood color. Alarms wailed, high, piercing, relentless. Lockdown. Seal the room. Medical board and hospital security, now. Doors slammed shut with hydraulic hisses. Metal locks engaged. Clara pounded the glass, face twisted into something ugly, mascara running in black rivers. Open the door, this is insane! Mrs. Dalton stood frozen behind her, pearls still, lips parted, but no sound coming out. Her empire cracked in real time. I lay silent on the table, heart roaring victory inside my chest, louder than any alarm. The trap snapped shut. They walked right in. I never moved. I didn't need to. The truth did the cutting. Nora stood tall, voice shaking but unbroken. There's more. Financial trails. Offshore accounts. Mrs. Dalton's company wired Larkin $250,000 on enrollment. Another half post-transplant. She pulled a second drive from her pocket, labeled in red Sharpie, follow the money. Evans took it, face grim. Get legal up here, and the police. Clara collapsed to her knees behind the glass, sobbing. I didn't want this. She made me... my mum. She said we'd lose everything. Mrs. Dalton finally moved. One step back, then another, like the floor was tilting. Her pearls swung like a pendulum, counting down her freedom. I opened my eyes fully for the first time, met Clara's through the glass. No anger, no triumph. Just sadness. Deep, bone deep. You should have trusted me, baby, I whispered. The microphone in my gown caught it, broadcast it. Her face crumpled. The room spun into chaos. But I stayed still, center of the storm. The calm before exposure was over. The storm had arrived. Security burst in. Real uniforms, not the rent-a-cops Clara paid. Handcuffs clinked. Larkin raised his hands, trembling. This is a mistake. I'm the head of... Save it for the board, Evans snapped. Mrs. Dalton was read her rights, voice flat, mechanical. Clara wailed as they pulled her up. I closed my eyes again, not to hide, to pray. For Daniel, for Nora, for the pieces of my family that might still be saved. The scalpel was lowered, never used, the incision never made. My liver stayed mine. The only thing carved open that day was the truth, and it bled everywhere. The operation was cancelled before the first real cut. Monitors unhooked with soft clicks, Ivy pulled with a gentle tug. Gurney rolled back to recovery, like nothing had happened. Except everything had. Security escorted Larkin and Mrs. Dalton out in cuffs, pearls clinking against metal like cheap wind chimes, his white coat flapping like surrender. Clara followed in tears, mascara rivers down her cheeks, promising to testify if they kept her baby safe. I didn't know it would go this far, I swear. I watched from the doorway, legs steady for the first time in weeks. No one noticed the old lady standing on her own. No one ever does until the storm breaks. Daniel was moved to a clean wing. Real doctors, real antidotes, plasma filtration humming day and night like a lullaby of second chances. I sat by his bed every afternoon, brought chicken broth I'd simmered myself on the hot plate in the family lounge. No more hospital slop, no more lies in a cup. "Mom, what happened in there?" he asked one afternoon, colour back in his cheeks, eyes clear for the first time in months. I smoothed his hair the way I did when he was 5 and scared of thunder. "Just a bad dream, baby. You're waking up now." He smiled, believed me. Some truths can wait until the ground is steady. Nora got suspended. 3 days, protocol breach, a slap on the wrist that felt like a medal. Dr. Evans marched into the boardroom himself, laid out every file, every recording, every offshore wire. She saved a life, 2 lives. Promote her or lose me. They blinked, swallowed. Promoted her. Compliance overseer, corner office with a window, nameplate shining. Nora Kim, RN. She visited me in the garden the day the letter came. Uniform crisp, eyes shining. "You were right. Silence is a weapon." I handed her a cutting from my rosemary bush, roots wrapped in damp paper towel. "Plant it. Let it grow loud. Let it remind you who you are." The hospital board launched an external audit. 2 executives resigned before lunch. One fled to Costa Rica with a duffel bag and a one-way ticket. Stock dipped. Headlines screamed, "Farmer scandal rocks. City hospital. Elderly donor traps fraudsters." I read them over coffee, no sugar, black as truth. Clara called once from a courthouse hallway. Voice small, cracked. "I'm sorry, Mom, she had debts. Threats." I was scared for the baby. I listened, let the silence stretch. "Fear makes monsters, Clara. Or it makes warriors. Choose next time," she cried. I hung up. Forgiveness is a seed. Plant it or don't. I wasn't ready to water it yet. I visited Daniel every day. Broth, stories, the grandkids on video call, waving construction paper hearts. His liver numbers climb like spring vines after rain. 85, 92, 98. One morning he sat up. No tubes, no wires, just sunlight on his face. "Take me home, Mom." I packed his bag myself, folded the hospital gown, left the owl monitor on the pillow, like a bad memory. The nurses clapped as we left, a slow ripple down the corridor. I didn't look back. The past stays where you leave it. A week later, the anonymous email arrived. No subject, burner account, midnight send. "You stopped them. But there's still someone on the hospital board pulling strings. Don't trust the system." Attached, a scanned memo, redacted names, dates matching the audit. I saved it, forwarded to Agent Ruiz with a single line. Round 2. Then I watered my herbs. Moonlight silvered the garden, rosemary, thyme, sage, mint thick enough to bruise the air. Nora walked the path below, name tag glinting. Nora Kim, registered nurse. She waved. I waved back. Partners in the quiet war, the one that never really ends. I closed the laptop, poured tea from the pot I'd brewed with garden lemon balm, watched the steam curl like prayers unanswered, and answered all at once. Daniel laughed in the kitchen. First real laugh in months, deep and free. Aaron texted a photo. Him and the grandkids at the lake house, rebuilt with insurance money Clara never touched. No more debts. No more chains. I smiled, small and knowing. I'd forwarded every scrap to the feds weeks ago. Quietly, patiently, the way you set a trap for rats who think they own the barn. Some nights I sit on the porch, rock slow, listen to crickets and the creak of old wood. 68 years of giving, lunches packed, fevers cooled, tuition scraped, dreams deferred, and I finally took something back, my life, my son, my voice, my liver, still beating strong where it belongs. Silence isn't weakness. It's the pause before the storm. It's the breath you hold until the liars lean in close enough to hear the thunder. It's the space where you gather every hurt and turn it into lightning. The garden grows louder every day. Rosemary taller than my knee, sage blooming purple, mint taking over the walkway like it owns the place. I let it. Nature doesn't ask permission, neither should we. Daniel joined me one evening, cane in hand but steady. "Teach me, Mom." I handed him clippers. "Cut what doesn't serve, feed what does." He snipped a sprig, inhaled. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Clara sent a letter, handwritten, postmarked from a women's shelter. "I'm learning. I'm trying." The baby says gamma now. I read it twice, folded it into the rosemary pot. Let the scent decide. Erin built a bench under the oak, carved our names on the back. We sit there Sundays, grandkids chasing fireflies, Daniel grilling steaks he can finally taste. The lake house deed came in the mail, transferred to all three of us, equal shares. I signed without hesitation. Agent Ruiz called last week. Another arrest, higher up the chain. "Your tip panned out, Mrs. Moore. Board chairs singing." I thanked him, hung up, watered the time. One by one the strings snap. One by one the puppets fall. To every woman who's been told to sit quiet, smile pretty, give until you're hollow, hear this: your patience isn't surrender. Your love isn't leverage. Your silence isn't empty. It's a vault. Fill it with evidence, with breath, with the slow grind of justice. Wait. Watch. Gather your storm. Then let it rain truth until the foundations crack and the liars drown in what they built. I did. And the garden grows louder every day. So will you. And there you have it. My storm, my garden, my truth. I'm still pinching myself that we made it through. Tell me something, friend. Did this story hit close to home? What city are you whispering from tonight? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Every single one. If Helen's quiet fire lit something in you, hit that super thanks button so I can keep spinning these real-life thunderbolts. Your support is the oxygen for the next tale. On screen right now, 2 brand new stories I handpicked for you. Dive deeper into the channel. Hundreds more are waiting. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's meet again soon. With all my love and respect, see you in the next heartbeat.